Welcome to the Certification Preparation Professional Security Engineer and Professional Network Engineer certification. My name is Magda, and I'm the Global Lead for the Google Cloud Certification and Digital Badges Go-to-Market team. And joining me today is Cori Peele, Customer Engineer at Google Cloud. Let's take a look at our agenda today. First, we'll review the certification benefits. Then, we'll review the learning resources and the Google Cloud Certifications portfolio. We'll then talk with Cori about her certification and preparation journey, and then we'll recap with the additional resources. So let's get started with the certification benefits. First of all, cloud skills are really critical to enabling customer success and fueling our ecosystem. The job posting looking for cloud skills grew over 40% between the first quarter of 2019 and the first quarter of 2021. Secondly, over 90% of IT leaders expect to expand cloud services in the next 1 to 3 years, but over 80% of them identified a lack of internal skills and knowledge as a top barriers to cloud success. And then lastly, the Google Cloud skills are particularly in high demand, commanding the top 2 paying IT certifications in 2021 in the US. We also love to hear from our community about the cloud certification program impact. 78% of our survey respondents feel more confident in their professional future. 82% can prove cloud skills competency to recruiters. 83% feel that their resume is more attractive. And then finally, 85% feel more confident in cloud skills. Here are some of the benefits you can enjoy by joining the certification community and achieving your certification. First, you distinguish yourself with a Google Cloud certified badge and a certificate. You also receive exclusive Google Cloud certified swag for our professional exams. You can network and exchange ideas in the Google Cloud certified community, and you also receive special recognition at select events. Let's review some of the learning resources and our Google Cloud certifications. Here are some of the modalities that really help us build skills for the future with Google Cloud Learning, starting with the instructor-led format, delivered by our authorized training partners. Then we also have a modality of the on-demand training, so you can learn anytime by the use of the on-demand content. The third piece is really the hands-on labs, and it's really all about learning by doing, so you can practice directly with Google Cloud technologies. And lastly, our Google Cloud certified program that really provides a framework and benchmark for success in core job roles. Our exams are proficiency and role-based and provide you a benchmark for success. And let's take a look at the overall portfolio of our Google Cloud certifications. You'll notice we have the exams at the professional level, as well as our Associate Cloud Engineer, and the very recently launched Cloud Digital Leader. This final one is for the business audience. Otherwise, our associate and professional exams are all job role based and really cater to the technical audience. Today, in our session, we focus on the Professional Cloud Security Engineer and the Professional Cloud Network Engineer. So let's start with the review of the readiness path for the networking and security network engineer role. You can notice the resources in the Learn section, then some hands-on practice resources with skill badges, and then some additional preparation resources. You can find all of these resources on our external training websites. Specifically, reviewing the Professional Cloud Network Engineer role, let's really have a better understanding what this role is really about. A Professional Cloud Network Engineer implements and manages network architectures in Google Cloud. This individual may work on networking or cloud teams with architects who design cloud infrastructure. The cloud network engineer uses the Google Cloud Console and/or command line interface and leverages experience with network services, application and container networking, hybrid and multi-cloud connectivity, implementing VPCs, and security for established network architectures to ensure successful cloud implementations. And you can review our exam page for further details. On the exam page, you'll also notice what are the core domains covered by the exam, and it's all available in the certification exam guide that's available on the website. Likewise, let's review the preparation path for the security engineer certification. You can notice the learning resources, trainings, then in the practice section, the hands-on labs and skill badges, some of the preparation resources like sample questions, and then finally the certification. So likewise, who is the professional security engineer? This person enables organizations to design and implement a secure infrastructure on Google Cloud. Through an understanding of security best practices and industry security requirements, this individual designs, develops, and manages a secure infrastructure leveraging Google security technologies. The cloud security professional should be proficient in all aspects of cloud security, including managing identity and access management, defining organizational structure and policies, using Google technologies to provide data protection, configuring network security defenses, collecting and analyzing Google Cloud logs, managing incident reports, and demonstrating an understanding of regulatory concerns. All of this available on our exam website, including the detailed domains that the security engineer exam covers. So very briefly, a little bit more information about these exams. They are 2 hours long, multiple choice and multiple select. There are no prerequisites. However, we strongly recommend you have around 3 years of industry experience, including a year at least of hands-on GCP knowledge. So with this, I'm really delighted to welcome Cori. Hello, Cori.
Hi, Magda. How are you today?
Really good. Great to see you. So we would love to get your insights, expertise on the topic of the security and network engineer certifications. So if you could start with letting us know about your role and some of the projects you are working on.
Yes, thanks. I'm a customer engineer with Google Cloud. And in this role, I'm able to work with customers to understand their business requirements, some of the things they may want to do to maybe transform their industry. And I work with them to understand how they can accomplish some of those goals using Google Cloud and parts of Google Cloud's ecosystem. And in order to do this, I need to have a really good understanding of what we have available in terms of features. But not just that, it's really focusing on how do you solve these business problems with the right amount of emphasis on performance for the right price at the right time. And by doing this with some of my customers, and some of you may be seeing some of them speak during Google Next, we're able to accomplish really meaningful and impactful accomplishments, not just for the customer, but also for the users they serve. And in that way, they all have a bit of a focus on improving our overall experience in the world today. So it's extremely rewarding.
That's great to hear. Thank you, Cori. So please tell us about your certification preparation experience.
Yes. So in my case, I had several certifications. However, I was focusing on how to study where I'm optimizing my time. Because when you think about the certification journeys and you look at the exam guides, you will see that there are certain common recommendations across networking and security. So having a really solid understanding of the foundational infrastructure components of Google Cloud will be the first thing. And so we have the ability to use instructor-led training or on-demand training through Pluralsight or Coursera. So I mapped out the courses, and I also leveraged the certification paths that have been outlined by our certification leads. And so by doing this, I was able to go through the training in terms of on-demand training. I also mapped out the questions that were maybe giving me some trouble when I took the practice exam. And this is extremely useful because the Google Cloud practice exam gives you not only an explanation regarding each answer, but it gives you links to resources for further information. So after doing that practice exam and understanding if there are other areas to focus on a bit more, I was able to really research and make sure I had a solid understanding of those topics as well. I also participated in community activities where several of us are embarking on a certification journey together. And this helps because you're able to ask questions and also benefit from communicating with others. And so in this case, once I felt comfortable that I was able to answer the questions across all of the sections of the exam guide, then I registered for the exam and I was able to pass. So I'm very fortunate to have several certifications, including the security and networking engineer certifications.
Wonderful, and congratulations, Cori.
Thanks.
So how would you encourage someone brand new to the security or network engineering area to set a goal of achieving a certification?
Yes, I would really encourage you to think about how this benefits your day-to-day activities in addition to how it may impact your company and your growth in your organization as a whole. The things you're doing today in your environment might be focused on maybe a couple of different patterns and a few different architectures based on what you have in your environment today. However, in order to really be prepared for different types of challenges and to really have a solid understanding of how you can apply these types of technologies to other business problems, it's important to have a very detailed understanding and a broad understanding of a lot of the topics that are covered in the exam. And so I really would encourage you to think about achieving certification, think about planning, and I would say think of it in terms of maybe in 12 weeks. So within 1 quarter, you may start your studying in the beginning of the quarter and then plan to have an exam taken towards the end. So that way you're able to incorporate studying for the exam with all the other things you're probably doing at the same time. And so with that type of structure, it's fairly reasonable for you to be able to really have that goal established and then also achieve the goal. And don't worry if you don't pass the first time. You have the ability to retake the exam. So again, the focus on establishing that type of target goal and then planning your schedule accordingly so you can meet that timeline.
Thank you, and thank you for all the tips. Cori, could you review some of the synergies between security and networking in Google Cloud?
Yes, and there are a lot of synergies. And actually, when you think about what the cloud is, we are thinking about the network, the resources that are networked. And so network security is very important. And you will find that there are networking and security topics on both exams. So one really important perspective we have at Google is to think about a zero trust model. We've published a white paper called Beyond Corp, and this is just a different way of thinking about managing security and network security for those who are used to the world where you have a demilitarized zone and you're allowing communications across the board as soon as someone has permission to get into that perimeter. Well, with zero trust, this means that even though you may be in the same network, you do not have access. So this is, again, nothing, no access unless you are granted that by a policy explicitly, or something where you are inheriting it. So being able to apply these types of principles across multiple products in the security and networking space will be really important. Also, it's important to think about how we approach open source software security. So we have a lot of different mechanisms to plan how we are managing development and what happens from a development standpoint, but also when you're doing additional builds, there are many other types of approaches. And so this is something that you want to really think about, because the impact of leveraging open source, where potentially this doesn't happen that often, but it has happened where there may be a bad actor. And so how do you prevent that from impacting your business? So making sure you have enough awareness of a lot of the latest practices, and demonstrating competency to really plan to protect your organization is important. Again, protecting against ransomware. Ransomware is a problem our world is dealing with now, and it's actually just, it seems to be getting worse. However, we have tools and products and processes to help protect against ransomware and other types of attacks. So having this type of knowledge lets you understand what you may do on the networking side in terms of how you're protecting from that standpoint, but then also from a security. And then when people think about cybersecurity in general, how do you really approach this? And so we have, again, processes and tools and product offerings to assist with that. One major change in the past several years has been the shift from just working with data centers that are owned by a company to a cloud infrastructure. And then now you actually have several approaches where you're thinking about multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. So your approach to security across all of these boundaries, and then also the way you approach it, let's say if you're maybe monetizing some offerings or doing joint ventures and you have a different definition of what these boundaries actually are, this becomes something that can be appear to be fairly complicated. However, if you are able to leverage some of the recommendations and best practices from Google Cloud, you'll have an understanding of the way to approach this so that your company and organization will be able to be really flexible as different demands and business models emerge in the future. And then really thinking about cybersecurity and resilience. Cyber resilience is extremely important. And when you are thinking about the broad spectrum of security and networking and how it's addressed together, it's really providing you with the capabilities to address these real world problems. So I really recommend anyone who, again, if you already have a certification, or maybe you're someone who's a manager of people who are doing more of the hands-on tasks, it's still useful to think about getting these certifications, because these certifications focus on how do you approach the design to meet a certain business need or to address certain problems, and it's not focused on just tasks. So by having a really great understanding of how you approach the design of security and networking will really be very beneficial. So yeah, Magda, thanks for asking some of these questions. This is a really important topic, and I really hope that we have a lot more of our customers and other stakeholders consider taking the certification exam.
Super helpful. Thank you so much, Cori. Great insights, and thank you so much for your time. And with this, we are going to wrap up with additional resources. So if you do want to start or continue your readiness journey in the networking and security area, here's your spot. So we are very excited to introduce the Google Cloud Skills Boost, our new destination for Google Cloud learning with over 700 labs, courses, and certification preparation resources. And to help you build the technical skills that you and your teams need, we are opening up access to Google Cloud Learning for a month at no cost. So just visit g.co/cloud/free training. And thank you so much for your time today. We hope you enjoyed the session and learned something new. Bye-bye.